ethnic unrest. Some disturbing scenes now as BBC4 examines Sri Lanka's turbulent past and what hopes there are for the future.
Sri Lanka, before the British, a sacred Buddhist kingdom. An earthly paradise where Buddhists, Hindus and Muslims lived peaceably side by side. But a vicious civil war has torn it apart, setting community against community, devastating the island's economy and reputation. In 20 years of fighting, 65,000 Sri Lankans have died, the survival of the state threatened by the Tamil Tiger rebels. Now, a critical juncture. A ceasefire's in place, but it's fraying at the edges. Will Sri Lanka go back to war? Or can Sinhalese and Tamils forget the past and restore a lasting peace to their island? The residents of Colombo finally feel safe enough to take the sea air again. For 2 years, Sri Lanka's capital has revelled in its return to normality. But for how much longer? White streamers. In Sri Lanka, white is the colour of death and mourning. The Colombo police station attacked. A suicide bomber took the life of a policeman and herself. It's thought to be a warning shot from the Tamil Tigers. After generations of ethnic harmony, what set the island's two main communities, Sinhalese and Tamils, at each other's throats? The answer has its roots in Sri Lanka's colonial history. Known then as Ceylon, the island was famed for its spices. The Portuguese came first, then the Dutch. Finally the British added it to their swelling empire in the east.
Britain obtained economic advantages from governing Sri Lanka, or Ceylon as it was called. A lot of spices, gems, especially tea, came from Sri Lanka. So I think trade predominated in the 19th century.
Lured by spices, the British introduced important new cash crops, rubber, coffee and tea. To work the plantations, 1 million Tamil labourers were imported from India, altering the ethnic balance. The British ran the show, but Sri Lankan Tamils increasingly manned the administration and the professions. Sri Lanka was a model colony.
We assumed we would be there forever, but given that was so, we were going to have to set up the institutions which would allow the colony to be governed in the best possible way.
English was the language of government, and Christianity was encouraged. Portuguese Catholic missionaries came first. They proselytized in the Tamil north. Anglicans followed. Encouraged by the missionaries, Tamils learned English in large numbers.
The Portuguese, and particularly the British, they followed standard imperialist policy and invested more in the minority people, in the Tamils. They gave them a better schooling system, which produced the people that the Portuguese and the British administration required in Colombo.
The sparks of ethnic rivalry would soon fly. But for now, Ceylon was stable and loyal. The Prince of Wales toured the island in 1925. Large crowds turned out to welcome him. Political stability gave Britain the chance to experiment. Ceylon was the first British colony to be given universal suffrage. As the clouds of war gathered in Europe, Sri Lanka basked in prosperity and sunshine. But everything was about to change.
His Excellency the Governor.
In the post-war years, the independence movement swept the Indian subcontinent. In 1948, Ceylon was given independence.
Political events. Part of his work will be to prepare for the Royal Commission that is coming to report on Ceylon's future.
Ceylon got independence in part because India had received independence in August of 1947, and after that it was difficult to hold back this island of people who were impatient for independence but who were not demonstrating in the streets for it.
There was no sense when the time came after the Second World War to give Ceylon independence that anything was likely to go wrong. We handed over power on the surface to a country in very good order and with everything very smooth and with very good prospects.
Colombo Harbour, where gaily decorated craft reflect the pageantry of Ceylon's Day of Independence, marked by a state visit from the Duke and Duchess of Gloucester. Planes fly past in salute as the Duke and Duchess drive on into the city for the chief ceremony of the day. Another huge crowd was waiting at the Assembly Hall, where, with the Governor-General and high officials, the Duke and Duchess arrived for the opening of the new Dominion Parliament.
On Independence Day 1948, I was a young lad of 18, so the memory is etched in my mind. It was a day of great jubilation, exhilaration, feelings of great prospects that lay ahead of us, and especially us youth felt that we were being delivered a new country into our hands, and that every prospect pleased. So we were looking forward to a new era.
Sri Lanka inherited a Westminster-style democracy, dominated by wealthy Sinhalese landowners. Thanks to the plantations, the economy was strong. The island's future looked bright.
In the great company, united under the crown.
Sri Lanka began to develop a very strong human development indicators, high literacy, high attendance in school, long life expectancy, low infant mortality, that kind of thing. The kind of good performance on those fronts that the island has always demonstrated.
Beneath the placid surface, though, ethnic tensions were on the rise. Tamils dominated the professions and the civil service. The majority Sinhalese felt they'd fallen behind during the colonial era. It was time to redress the balance. The Indian Tamils working the plantations were the first target. Parliament stripped them of their citizenship. Tamils formed their own party.
The Sinhala people found that although they were 65 to 70% of the people, population of the country, the Tamils and the Christians enjoyed positions of power far out of proportion to the actual number.